Assalamualaikum everyone. I hope you are doing well and welcome to another inspiring episode. I am your host Rubania AutomationWali and today we have a very special guest joining us from the United States. Our guest is Andrea Wentz, the founder of the Center for Human Pattern Awareness and System. Andrea has a bachelor degree in chemical engineering and spent several years working in the technology industry, including as a process engineer and Intel. Her journey took a remarkable turn when she discovered that her true passion was understanding people communication and the pattern that shape our lives. As someone who is autistic and has ADHD and data has transformed her personal experience into a mission to help others understand themselves, communicate effectively, build confidence, and embrace the sense of navigating math. Thank you so much for joining. Today we'll explore her journey, her work, and the valuable lessons she has learned along the way. Thank you so much, Andrea, for joining. Welcome to the show. Hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm well, thank you. And you?
I am good. So my
Good.
first question is that Andrea, could you please introduce yourself to our audience and tell us a little about your journey?
Um, okay. As you said, my name is Andrea Wentz, and my journey has involved many different explorations and trials of life, anywhere from uh, um, so my journey has explored many aspects and facets of what it is to be human, and a woman in the United States. I have been impoverished and on the verge of living on the streets, and I have been well off and not had to worry about money. I have um, been through some of the most difficult, trying times of life, loss of a daughter, loss of a partner, um, some of the horrible things that women can also endure, and as well as getting out of a religious type cult in my childhood. And it has given me a very deep understanding of what it is like to be um, an individual in the United States. I haven't traveled much outside the country, um, but it has given me a deeper compassion and empathy for understanding other people and what values they have, what they need, what true safety feels like within an individual, within the body, within society. And because of my vast experiences and my passion for understanding other people, I am using that in my business to try to help others understand each other.
Okay, that's amazing. Thank you. And my next question is that what inspired you to study the chemical engineering?
Um, I actually started out in environmental biology, but discovered that I really didn't like biology. And in an organic chemistry class, a young man asked me, he said, like, the way you think, the way you process, the way you analyze, like, why are you not studying engineering? And I told him, well, it's because my sister's an engineer, my dad's an engineer. I didn't really want to follow the same path as my family. He said, oh, that makes total sense. You're the black sheep of the family. Makes sense you don't want to follow the same path. And that little bit of validation allowed me to finally explore the possibility. And when I did, it was a choice I did not regret. I absolutely loved learning about how everything worked, physics, fluid dynamics, thermodynamics. I absolutely loved it. It was incredible.
Okay. And and then my next question is that how has your experience working as a process engineer at internal?
How was my experience?
Yeah.
It was challenging. Um, while I had an aptitude, one of the problems that I kept running into was that I had to work internally 2 to 3 times as hard as everybody else to be able to stay focused and get my work done. On top of that, I had incessant imposter syndrome because I had been conditioned since childhood to believe that I was stupid because of my autism with ADHD. Now, at this point, I had been diagnosed, but I didn't believe the diagnosis. I had very little respect for psychologists at that time. And had I actually looked into my diagnosis, things might have been different. But it was definitely challenging. But the systems processing and understanding process, downstream effects, and such like that, all that really is something I use in what I do now. And so it's kind of interesting. I thought that with an engineering degree, it would only apply to engineering, and no, I'm using it now to understand humans better, and it's working really, really well.
Okay, that's nice. And my next question is that, Andrea, what made you decide to transition from engineering to human development and communication?
Um, so originally, I was going to transition out of engineering into healing, energy work and healing, meditation work and hypnotherapy. But in the energy healing circles, I found too many people that had this mentality of that they were just one stop in a long journey of people trying to heal themselves. And the focus was on how much money you could get for not a complete job. And that didn't align with my morals. That didn't align with my values. I couldn't get on that bandwagon. So at the beginning of this year, I decided to pivot and focus on the neurodivergent community, because a year ago, I I got onto the Facebook forums and the group advice groups to find out what else I still needed to heal. I'd already been on a 4-year journey healing and working on myself, and I got on there figuring out, like, okay, so how far behind am I? What more do I have to work on? And I found that actually there were people struggling with things that I'd already worked through years before. And so I just mainly gave advice. And finally, at the beginning of this year, I was like, no, these people need me a lot more. This is where I'm called. This is where I've got to help. My years of it being in denial of my diagnosis um, allowed me a different perspective on interacting with neurotypical individuals that they didn't have. And um, so I just became my focus was helping each side understand each other better so that we can all just get along and work together and have happy lives. So
Okay, right. And my next question is that, can you tell us about the moment you discovered you were aesthetics and had ADHD?
about the moment you discovered you were, autistic and ADHD. Ah, okay. So like I said, I was diagnosed 9 years before I accepted my diagnosis. And the moment I finally accepted it, I had lost the love of my life. I was in severe depression. I felt like I couldn't function. I was just in a complete and total burned out, collapsed state. And I was going, what is wrong with me? What is wrong with me? Why can't I get this? And so finally I said, all right, I remember what they said 9 years ago. Let's look into this. And so I looked it up. Now, 9 years ago, I was diagnosed with Asperger's and ADHD. It was a year before Asperger's got looped into autism. So now Asperger's became autism. So I looked into autism and ADHD, and that actually fit. That fit very well. And it was, it was absolutely mind blowing. And I went through this deep state of grief because, like, my pride and my conditioning on disabilities did not allow me to consider this being possible. So I felt a lot of regret and remorse, but at the same time, I really appreciated finally understanding why my life had been so insanely difficult and challenging.
Okay, that's nice. And my next question is that, how did that discovery change the way you viewed yourself?
Um, well, that at least gave me a reason for why I was the way I was. But to me, I couldn't define myself by that. Basically, the summary was that, in my opinion, my entire life had been essentially a lie, a mask, a farce to try to survive. And so, after researching autism and ADHD, I put it all aside and I focused on, all right, who really is Andrea? And I went on a very deep meditative journey exploring who I was and all the facets of me and why I did the things that I did, why I felt the way I did, why I reacted the way I did. And that was my 3 year healing journey. And that I think is the most important part of what I did. Is a lot of people now, they just take off the mask and they just go with it and come what may, and they lose friends and create isolation and problems in their work, in their family. And me, I said, all right, let's go deep and find out who the heck I really am behind the mask. So that, I think, is how I did things differently, which is why my courses for neurodivergent individuals are under the title Unmasked.
Okay, that's amazing, wonderful. And my next question is that, many people struggle with self-acceptance, and what advice would you give them?
Many people struggle with themselves.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Um, so the advice I like to give people first after all my exploration is self-validate. So many of us look to others to validate our experiences and the things that we've survived and we've struggled with, and say, like, please tell me it was this bad. And the thing is, when you seek validation from others, you give others power to prevent you from healing. The real key to healing yourself and strengthening yourself and self-empowering is to acknowledge it doesn't matter what other people think, or whether other people think it was bad or not bad, or wonderful or not wonderful. It's, what did I feel? I survived this. I dealt with this. This was real for me, and this is how it affected me. I don't need other people's validation that it was rough. And when you can validate your own experience, you take back your power, you know? That is the first step in taking back your power and taking back rulership over yourself. And so that is the first thing that I would say if people are struggling with themselves: self-validate. There's so much there's so much strength in that, and it is so needed in today's society.
Okay, that's amazing, and thank you for the amazing nice answer. And the next question is that, what do you mean by human pattern awareness?
So human pattern awareness is basically, in my explorations and studies of understanding myself and understanding other people, to really figure out, like, what's been going on throughout my life and stuff like that, I found that we humans seem to have patterns. The hierarchy of needs pyramid is a great example of that. We have the pattern of all of us need safety as a basic core. Then all of us need food, clothing, shelter. Then all of us need, like, and oh shoot, that's an alarm. Actually, that's my phone. Hang on a second. Let me turn that off.
Uh,
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay, power off. Um, so my apologies. So we all have these patterns of what we need in life, but then on top of that, those patterns show up in how we respond to things. So like um, most people, when somebody says something that hits a core wound or a trigger or something like that, they will respond in a negative response. They will respond in negativity. Or another thing is if you were exposed to negativity out of the blue, I found that there's this, what I call it, a negativity virus, where if you were exposed to something negative, you're going to then do something similar along those lines to somebody else, and then they're going to do something similar along those lines to somebody else, and it just keeps patterning down, and you got to like be the stop to that. And I've just, when I finally started paying a lot of attention to these patterns that I'm noticing, I'm starting to discover that we are rather predictable, not like super predictable, but there's a reason why we have psychology and sociology. Those really are studying our human patterns, you know?
Yeah. Okay, that's nice answer. And my next question is that what project are you working currently, and what are your future goals?
So the project I'm working on right now is um, building up the business side.
Uh,
And I'm sorry, what?
nice.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm working on building up the business side, and I want to get that built up enough that I can basically. My goal is to separate Chip Us from Unmasked and make Chip Us a nonprofit. And Chip Us will own all the IP and stuff like that, and be able to lease it to the business, and then the business gives revenue back to the nonprofit, because the nonprofit, the long-term goal is I want to create a foundation or school to teach young people neurodivergence these skills that I have, and be able to go out into the world and use them to help bridge divides. I'm hoping, aspirationally, I want to create a new form of diplomats that can actually help us adapt to this new world that we're in and be able to bridge divides, because the old way that diplomacy has been used and done, I don't think works anymore. Not with everybody being so aware, not with everybody having mental health awareness and stuff like that. So that's what I want to do.
Okay, that's nice. And my next question is that how can people become better communication in their personal and professional lives?
One, I would say assume positive intent. If you cannot assume positive intent, at least assume neutral intent. That is the first one. The second one, empathic listening. Listening for what they say and what scripts or stories, beliefs, wounds might those things that they're saying be coming from. And then the third, pause. Pause, give yourself pause before you respond. So that those would be
Yeah.
the three core things that I would say to improve communication.
Okay, nice. And my next question is that why is confidence so important? And how can someone build genius self-confidence?
Genius self-confidence.
Yeah.
I'd have to say I'm still working on that myself. um, so confidence is important. For me, I mean, I don't know about most people, but for me, it hasn't been a matter of confidence. For me, it's been a habit, an aspect of knowing. Do I know what I'm talking about? Do I know how this works? Do I know do I feel grounded in what I'm talking about? Like when you can have that inner knowing and you know what you're working on, you know what you're talking about, and you don't feel the need to have permission from others anymore to speak or again to validate that you know what you're talking about, that gives confidence. I've never been somebody who could like pretend I was confident. I had to have it from the inside of knowing that I knew what I was talking about, knowing that I know how to do this. I may not always be the most articulate in communicating it, but that inner knowing is super important.
Okay, that's amazing, wonderful. And my next question is that can you share a challenge in your life that ultimately become one of your greatest strengths?
I'm sorry, what? In your life that
Yeah,
became your
I'm saying,
greatest
can you
10?
share a challenge in your life you can face and you can on handle?
A challenge in my life that I can face and oh, so my greatest challenge?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Um, I would say, gosh, there's been so many. Okay, I'll talk about the one that I was thinking about this morning. So, one of the greatest challenges I faced in my life was the death of my daughter. She was a twin. She was 3 months old. She died 2 days before Christmas, and that was one of the greatest challenges in my life. Not only for the loss, but also for the lack of um, care that anyone provided. I felt that people were blaming me. I blamed myself, and not getting help for that, I think, contributed to a lot of the negative things that happened in my life. Now, I don't regret that because the result was who I've become now, and I love who I've become now. But that definitely was one of the hardest times of my life because it had a 14-year side effect from not actually processing it, from not talking to people, and not working through the guilt and grief of losing my daughter.
Okay, that's nice. And my next question is that what daily habit have had the biggest positive impact on your life?
Meditation, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, taking the time to meditate on the day, meditate on my insights, meditate on the divine or the universe. Just meditation, 100%.
Yeah, absolutely meditation. And that's great. And my next question is that what message would you like to leave for our audience around the world?
I would like to leave the message of that whatever you're going through, whatever your fear coming, look on the other side of it and build for the other side of it. Because nobody knows what tomorrow's going to bring. Nobody knows what the days after is going to bring. But no matter how horrible the things that we survive, there will be an other side of it. And the question is, what do you want to build for the other side? Who do you want to be on the other side? What do you want to create on the other side? So don't, tomorrow is going to be its problems and there's nothing we can do about it. What you can do something about is what's on the other side. So build for the day after tomorrow.
Okay, that's amazing message. And Andrea, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. And your journey from enjoying to helping people understand themselves is truly inspiring. And your
Thank you.
opinions about Ascent and ADHD, your dedication is improving and navigation individuals Our passion for improving communication and human connection have given us valuable insights. Thank you so much. We simply appreciate your sharing your experience, wisdom, and encouragement with our audience. We confident that your story will inspire many people to embrace who they are, recognize their strengths, and continue growing with confidence. So, thank you so much, everyone, for listening, and thank you so much for joining us today, Andrea.
Thank you so much, Rubania. I'm very honored to have been here. Thank you.
Welcome. Allah Hafiz, everyone. Thank you.